גדול יהוה, ומהולל מאוד, בעיר אלוהינו, הר קדשו. יפה נוף, משושחל הארץ, הר ציון יקרתי, צפון קריית מלך רב. אלוהים בארמנותיך, נודע למשכב.
Greatly to be praised. Great is Yah, and greatly to be praised. In the city, yes, greatly to be praised. Greatly to be side, in His holy hill we say, in His holy hill we say, great is Yah, He's greatly to be praised, greatly to be praised. Great is Yah, and greatly to be praised, greatly to be the rock of salvation, the ancient of days, the hope, the ancient of days, the hope of glory, yeah, the Elohim Yahweh, yeah. Lift your hands on high, hear of Israel, the Aleph and the Tav. Oh, in His meeting place, bow your head. He's greatly to be praised. Oh, great is Yah.
Shalom, shalom, shalom. Shabbat shalom. As you know, it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to be, how would you say, in the Most High Sabbath day. And I pray through the Spirit of the Most High and His Son Yasharahla that He give you peace and perfect health, which is a gift from the Most High. And I pray that He give that to you. All right, with that being said, again, I say Shabbat Shalom, peaceful Sabbath, and it's a pleasure to be here. Okay, so those of you that are virtually in, I would like you to like our video. Also, I want you to share our videos, and also I would like you to subscribe as well. Therefore, you'll be a part of what is known as the weekly Sabbaths. All right? So with that being said, I'm going to start in just a second. I want to get everybody situated.
My glasses up.
And actually, it's been an amazing week. With regard to the Spirit, dealing with this class. We continue on with the series. And also, there was quite a few questions. I got a couple calls and I got a couple of emails with regard to questions, and I'm going to review just a little bit, a few scriptures that I went over last class, and then we'll continue on from there. As you know, the title is The Tribe of Judah, Past, Present, and Future. But today we're gonna zero in and really get some knowledge about the Greeks and the Romans, with regard to the nation of Israel and also the tribe of Judah. So with that being said, we're gonna ask our reader to begin at the book of Genesis. Okay, and give me 1 second. I know there's I just want to read an email that I received. Okay. Yeah, so for this particular individual, I'm definitely going to review just a little because they was wondering about when the Most High said that Judah stooped down. So we're going to go back over that just a little bit. All right, so I'm going to read it. Well, let's start at Genesis 49th chapter, and let's begin at the 9th verse. Okay, everybody get their notes, get your highlighters. That way you can go home and you can review some of the things that I went over. Okay, so I'm going to read it. Would you begin?
Reading from the book of Genesis, chapter 49, verse 9.
Okay.
Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, thou art gone up. He stooped down. He couched as a lion, and as an old lion, who shall rouse him up?
All right, so let's underline where it said he stooped down, because there was a question regarding that. They didn't quite understand what it said by stoop down. All right, there was a particular time in history that the tribe of Judah actually stooped down. Okay, so underline stoop down. Okay, because that's the prophecy that was given. The old lion that stooped down. Now, this is when Judah stooped down. All right, let's go to the book of 2 Chronicles. And I do it this way because I want you to understand of the history. 2 Chronicles, the 36th chapter. And let's review verse 17.
Reading from the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 36, verse 17.
Come on.
Therefore he upon them the king of the Chaldees.
That's the Most High. The Most High brought upon us. Actually, the children of Israel actually was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, what is known as the southern tribe. The Most High brought upon us, go ahead,
who slew their young men with the sword.
All right, the Chaldeans. The Chaldeans is another name for the Babylonians. You can write that in your notes. The Chaldeans and the Babylonians are the same people. So the Most High brought them upon the southern tribe, okay, which slew our young men, go ahead,
with the sword in the house of their sanctuary.
In the house of their sanctuary. In other words, they came actually in our temples, in our sanctuaries, and they came and slew us. Okay, these are the Babylonians. All right, continue on.
And had no compassion upon young man or maiden.
They didn't have no compassion, no sympathy, no mercy upon young men, and the scripture said young maidens. Okay, that's our young sisters, our young princesses. All right, they had no compassion for them. Go ahead.
Old man,
like an elderly man. Okay, go ahead.
Or him that stooped for age.
He that stooped for age. That's really an elderly person. All right, go ahead.
For he gave them all into his hand.
He gave them all into his hand. The Most High gave us all. All right, all into their hands. All right, go ahead, verse 18.
And all the vessels of the house of Yahweh, great and small, and the treasures of the house of the Adawan.
All right, so all our riches that we had in our temple, our sanctuary, the golden vessels, the ark, the candlestick, the menorah, the Most High gave that to them. Go ahead.
And the treasures of the king.
Go ahead.
And of the princes.
Go ahead.
All these he brought to Babylon.
All right, so that's when Judah stooped down. That's when we're referencing to Davidic kings. All right, the lineage of David. All right, his kings. Those ones, that's when they would stoop down. Okay, now let's go to the book of Matthew. All right, I wanted to go over that just a little bit because they didn't quite understand that. The tribe of Judah stooped down from rulership, kingship, all right, when we went into Babylon. When we went into Babylon, okay? That's when the kings stooped down. The tribe of Judah stooped down. The tribe of Judah was not the head anymore. All right, continue on Matthew 1:17.
Reading from the book of Matthew, chapter 1, verse 17.
Come on.
So all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations.
Underline that. All the generations. All right, those are 14 generations, meaning 14 kings. All right, 14 kings. Each generation counted as a king. Okay, continue.
And from David until the carrying away into Babylon are 14 generations.
14 more kings. Okay, now this is the one we want to hammer in on. This last precept of that scripture. Go ahead.
And from the carrying away into Babylon.
From when Judah stooped down and went into Babylon as captives. Okay, go ahead.
Unto Hamashiach.
Until Yahushua, the anointed. Go ahead.
Are 14 generations.
Are 14 generations. In other words, 14 kings again. Okay, remember that. From Babylon to Yahushua are 14 generations of kings. Zerubbabel was in that generation. Okay, even Joseph was in that generation. Okay, now, let's go into what we want to talk about. All right, let's go into the Greek Empire. The Greek Empire. All right, now I want to go back. Those 14 generations that we're referencing in Matthew, the first chapter, is actually talking about what is known as the Hellenistic period. We're going to go in depth with what that word means and how that influenced our lives even to this day. The Hellenistic period. So we're going to discuss that, go into that in the book of Maccabees to really get an understanding of what is known as the Hellenistic period. Okay, let's go to the book of First Maccabees, the first chapter. And let's begin at the 7th verse. First Maccabees, the first chapter. And let's begin at the 7th verse. Now we're going to the Greek Empire. All right, we're talking about the Greeks now. Okay, continue.
Reading out of the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 7.
Okay.
So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died.
All right, so this is Alexander the Great. If you didn't know the history on this, this is Alexander the Great, which is and which was the ruler over the Greek Empire. All right, these are actually the Macedonians. Their names were Macedonians before they became Greeks. Okay, his father was called Philip of Macedonia. That was Alexander the Great's father. But Alexander the Great extended more than his father, and he became the first over Greece. So he reigned for 12 years, then he died. Okay, continue.
And his servants bear rule, every one in his place.
All right, so after that, after he died, he had some servants, and they became rulers. All right, now this, if you want some dates, this is what is known as 323 BC. Let's say that again. This is 323 BC, which is referencing the Hellenistic period. Okay, 323 BC. Okay, verse 8.
And his servants bear rule, every one in his place.
Okay, go ahead.
And after his death, they all put on crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them. Many years, and evils were multiplied in the earth.
Okay, now underline that last precept there. The scripture said evils were multiplied in the earth. All right. Evils were multiplied in the earth during the time of the Greeks. Now, this is called the Hellenistic period. All right, so my video department, I want you to go pull up PowerPoint number 12. PowerPoint number 12. I want the audience to see. I want them to see virtually. All right, This is what is known as the Hellenistic period. And once he gets number 12 for me, we'll ask our reader to read that on that PowerPoint. Okay? This is referencing during the Greeks, right after Alexander's death. Evil was multiplied in the earth. Okay? All right. Can we read that for me?
Hellenistic period. The Hellenistic period spans the period between the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BC.
All right, so from the time that he died, and then he gave his servants rulership, all right, continue on.
And the emergence of the Roman Empire.
And all the way to the Romans came into power. So that time period, all right, which start date is what, reader?
323 BC.
And the end date is what?
33 BC.
All right, from that time period, that's called the Hellenistic period. All right, and now what we're going to do, if you're not too familiar with that word, we're going to define what that word Hellenistic means, or Hellenist, or what is a Hellenist. Let's go to PowerPoint number 13. Once that's up, reader, you can read it, all right?
Con.
Okay. Hellenist. Let them know what a Hellenist is.
Hellenist, a person living in Hellenistic times who was Greek in language, outlook, and way of life, but was not Greek in ancestry.
All right, so let's read that again slowly. Let's really look at this here. All right, if you need to take a snapshot of that definition, by all means do it. Those you virtually, if you want to do a screenshot, by all means do that as well. All right, read the Hellenist again.
Hellenist, a person living in Hellenistic times who was Greek in language.
All right, so this person, they spoke Greek. Okay, they spoke the Greek language. Go ahead.
Outlook.
Outlook, in other words, their appearance. All right, their way of life. Okay, go ahead.
And way of life.
Go ahead.
But was not Greek in ancestry.
But they was not Greek. Their lineage was not Greek. They wasn't Greek at all. They just spoke it. Okay, all right. They appeared to be on outwardly, the way they dressed. Okay, the way they lived every day, their diet, etc., and their way of life. Okay, but they wasn't Greek. That wasn't the answer. They wasn't related to Alexander the Great and his servants. Okay, go ahead.
Especially a Hellenized Jew.
You hear that? That's another precept, but it says especially a Hellenized Jew. Okay, so a Hellenist is someone that spoke Greek language, that lived during that time, okay, that followed the ways of the Greeks, but they had no ancestry. They was not from their lineage. But then especially the Greek, the Jews, which was us. Okay, you got that? All right, so we're going to move on. All right, let's go to First Maccabees, the first chapter, and the 25th verse. All right, and I want y'all to really understand now, this is where we go into what is known as Hellenism, and how we became Hellenists. All right, First Maccabees, the first chapter, 25th verse.
Reading out of the book of Maccabees, reading out of the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 25.
All right.
Therefore, there was great mourning in Israel.
All right, just now when you read about the history, when the Greeks came into our land, all right, they came into our land, the scripture said it was great mourning because of them, because they were bringing their way of life upon us. Okay, continue.
In every place where they were, so that the princes and elders mourned.
All right, so the princes and the elders, the young men and the adult men, we mourned when the Greeks came into our land. We mourned. Okay, go ahead.
The virgins and young men were made feeble.
All right, so the virgins and the young men. The virgins were the young women of marriageable age. Okay, that goes back to the reference of Mary. Mary was a virgin. All right, one that had no sex at all, and or a young woman. So these virgins were young women of marriageable age, and it says the young men as well. All right, of marriageable age. Okay, continue.
And the beauty of women was changed.
Underline that. Sisters, you gotta understand what happened. Y'all didn't, the sisters don't think y'all just was there. Y'all caught some hell too. All right? Underline, it says the beauty of women was changed. When them Greeks came into our land, the beauty of women changed. And what it mean by that? Sisters, y'all stop smiling. Y'all stop smiling. All right, y'all didn't have that joyful spirit. But because one, remember, you down because the men are down. So when you couldn't help us and be with us, that made you down. All right, so that smile wasn't there. You wasn't dressing the same because now they brought their culture. They try to enforce their culture. And you know how sisters, it's nothing like to see a sister that knows that she looks well. All right, when she knows she's dressing properly. Okay, none of that, all of that had changed when the Greeks came. Okay, your confidence changed. Okay, your well-being changed. All right, the way you groomed your hair, all that changed because you had to model after the Greeks. Just like today, when you see a model on TV or you see a magazine model and you look at those models on the runway, you say to yourself, I don't want to be like them. All right, we're not on that runway like that. All right, so that same emphasis back then, your beauty changed. Okay, your appeal changed. Okay, because of that. All right, continue.
Verse 27.
Go ahead.
Every bridegroom took up a lamentation.
All right, so all the bridegroom was the men. The bridegrooms are the ones that planning to get married or want to get married, all right, or at marriage. They said we took up lamentation. We took up lamentation because for one, we wasn't in our rulership, all right, and our women, the beauty of them changed because Scripture always tell you there's nothing better that a man loves than the beauty of a woman. It tells you that. So when that changed, and we are that getting married, we weren't so happy. Okay, go ahead.
And she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness.
All right, so the sisters, when you got in that marriage chamber, you wasn't happy at all. All right? Because nothing was going right for you during the time of the Hellenist time. Okay? Now, let's move to verse 27. Which you did. Okay. All right. Now, verse 128. Now, this is where, you remember, the goal of the Greeks or the Hellenists to make everybody the same. They want to force their lineage or their way of life upon you. All right. This verse 28.
Verse 28.
Go ahead.
The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof.
All right. So now, the sisters wasn't in peace. Brothers wasn't, it was in lamentation. The beauty of women changed. The mindset of the young men changed. No motive for life. All right? But it also said the land also was moved because of the Hellenists or the Greeks. All right, continue.
And all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion.
I was straight confusion. All right, straight confusion when the Hellenist time came, the Greeks came. All right, now, like I said, they wanted to make everybody one religion and one law. All right, so let's read about that. Let's go to the 41st verse.
Verse 41.
Go ahead.
Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to the whole kingdom that all should be one people.
You see that? So Antiochus, King Antiochus, the wicked one, we call him, all right, he wrote to this whole kingdom, all right, to his whole kingdom that everybody should be one people. This was what is known as Hellenist. All right, continue reading.
Verse 42.
Go ahead.
And everyone should leave his laws.
All right, underline that. And he wanted everybody in his kingdom, if you had your own laws, your own way of life, your own religion, he wanted you to leave that. All right? Now, he wanted us to leave our laws. Go ahead.
So all the heathen agreed, according to the commandment of the king.
All right, now, all the heathen, which means the other nations other than Israel, they automatically agreed to Antiochus because he was the king. They were afraid. All right, so they all agreed they're going to leave their laws and they're going to be one people and they want to all be Hellenists. All right, continue.
Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion.
All right, so now it says, yeah, there was many. It wasn't everybody, but there was a lot of Israelites. All right, so the scripture said Israelites that consented to his religion. All right, and that religion was known as Hellenism. Okay, all right, continue reading that.
And sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath.
All right, so that's what we began to do. We began to sacrifice the idols, and then we started profaning. We started profaning the Sabbath. We began to abuse the Sabbath. All right? We began to despise the Sabbath because this was known as the Hellenistic time, Hellenistic period. All right, now, in scripture says, consented to his religion. Now, let's look into the Greek religion, all right, or what they believed in. Let's go to PowerPoint number 14. And this is Hellenism. And so that you know, if you need to take a screenshot, you can. All right, Hellenism.
Hellenism is, in practice, primarily centered around polytheistic and animistic worship.
You see that? You can take a screenshot of that if you want. Hellenism centered around polytheistic, meaning more than one God. The Greeks believed in more than one God, and animistic worship. In other words, they worship animals. Okay? Now, these are the Greeks. All right? This is during that time. Okay? And this is their religion, their way of life. All right? Continue.
Devotees worship the Greek gods, which are the Olympians, divinities and spirits of nature, such as nymphs, underworld deities or deities,
And
chthonic gods.
Chthonic gods. Go ahead.
And heroes. Both physical and spiritual ancestors are greatly honored.
All right, so this is what their religion was. All right, they worship what is known as spirits of nature and underworld deities. Now I'm gonna show you a picture or image. All right, let's go to PowerPoint 15. These are nymphs and what is known as chthonic gods. Okay, you should see an image of that. Chthonic gods. All right, those are spirits of nature and underworld chthonics. When you look at those images, they're all very, very, what is known as, they appear to be not dressed all the time. All right? Like very seductive when you look at it. Okay? Now, these are nymphs and what is known as chthonic gods. Now, you'll see where they see like they fighting. All right? That's going into what is known as prostitution and rape. All right? When you start reading about the nymphs and those stories, the gods they believed in. All right? So they're always very seductive, almost to the point where they're very sexual. All right? Go ahead, real quick.
Is that where you get like nymphomaniac from?
Exactly. Exactly. All come from the Greeks. All right? Okay, now, let's go to PowerPoint 16 and read about chthonic gods.
Macaria, goddess of blessed death.
Now look at these titles. Look at these titles. Blessed death. Go ahead.
Chthonic gods
Chthonic gods. Go ahead.
are those who deal with the underworld.
See, they was going into the underworld. All right. These are the Greeks. This is Hellenists. This was his religion. This is what they was worshiping. All right. The underworld. Go ahead.
The underground realm of Hades and Persephone.
All right. And Hades, right now, he's what is known as God of the underground. All right. He's the God of the underground. Okay. Go ahead.
In Greek mythology, the chthonic gods include Demeter, Hecate, and Nyx.
And these are all gods. Okay. Ahead.
The people of Greece practiced specific rituals and sacrifices to honor these gods as they were trying to reach a...
You cut off?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, basically, they was trying to reach what is known as spiritual aspect.
Okay.
Okay. But they was going into rituals and sacrifices. All right. Now, let's go a little further. Now, this gets a little better now. Okay. We'll go a little further. Let's go to PowerPoint 17. All right. This is complete madness, what they were into. Okay. You see PowerPoint 17? Now, read it. Once you read, just read that part. It says the what? The 12 what?
The 12 gods are called Olympians.
All right. So now, the 12 gods. Now, you can see the gods on the left-hand side. See the gods on the left-hand side. All right. You see Zeus. Now, they got 12 gods. These are called the Olympians. You got Zeus, also known as Jupiter. He's the highest god. He's the supreme god. All right. And you got Sidon. You got Hera. You got Hermes, right? Which is also, you go to the Romans, they call it Mercury. All right. Then you got Athena, Eris, all right? Hephaestus, Aphrodite, Demeter, Dionysus, Apollo, and Artemis. All right, these are what is known as the Olympian gods. All right, these are their main 12 gods. Now, they got what is something called the Big Three. You see that? The Big Three. So the Big Three is Zeus. Because Zeus, all right, he was in other words as, he's like the supreme God. All right, supposed like the Most High. All right. Another name for Zeus is Jupiter. And as you know, that's one of the name of the planets, right? Now, Jupiter is what? The largest planet, whether y'all know it or not. So that was intentionally named. All right, so in that Jupiter, you actually worshiping a god, Greek god. The Romans and Greeks, they're the ones that actually named those. And America did the same thing. All right? So Zeus is actually Jupiter. All right? Then you got Sidon. This is the Big Three. Sidon, that's more, he's called the god of the sea. So you got the earth, you got the sea, all right? The Romans called him Neptune. Isn't that one of the name of the planets? Neptune? That's where they're getting those names from. All right? And the last one is Hades. All right? That's the god of the underground. Hades. Pluto. Another name for Hades is Pluto. That's the Romans called him Pluto. Oh, you see that? So this is the Hellenists. This is what they sacrifice to all these gods. God of the sky, God of the rain, God of death. All right? God of prosperity. They have all these different types of gods that they worship to and sacrifice to. And they try to force this upon us, the children of Israel. Okay? Now, let's hold that. All right? Y'all okay? All right. So now, this going to even get better. Now, let's see how we responded to this. As you said, as you know, it says many of other Israelites consented voluntarily. you know, some of us ain't gonna stick with the Most High. But many of us voluntarily or were just afraid and consented to worshiping the 12 Olympians. All right? Now, the ones that didn't, they began to force it upon us. And that's when we caught some hell. All right? Let's go to 1 Maccabees. All right, the 44th verse. All right, now this one we caught some hell. All right, go ahead.
Reading from the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 44. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah.
All right, who he sent messages to?
Unto Jerusalem.
And who?
And the cities of Judah.
He sent letters specifically, specifically for us. All right, he sent direct letters. All right, go ahead.
That they should follow the strange laws of the land.
You see that? Which is what? Hellenism. The strange, because it's strange to us. We ain't know nothing about these all different gods. All right? But it said many of us did consent to it. All right? But the ones that didn't, he wrote letters to. All right, go ahead.
And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple.
All right, so now he said, listen, y'all can't do no more burnt offerings. All right, no sacrificing that y'all do in your temple. All right, whether it's for sin, etc. Y'all cannot do that no more. All right, go ahead.
And that they should profane the Sabbaths.
All right, abuse and defile the Sabbath. Go ahead.
And the festival days.
You cannot celebrate no Passover, no Feast of Tabernacles. All right, no Day of Atonement, if that's the place. You cannot celebrate any of those festivals anymore. All right, this was written into letter to Israel. All right, go ahead.
And pollute the sanctuary and holy people.
That's the reason. That was the goal, to pollute the sanctuary, which is our temple, pollute it. All right, because we didn't allow strangers in our temple. All right, remember, this is the city of David. We're in the city of David. This is Bethlehem. We're in our temple. All right, and the Greeks came in upon us. All right, came directly to us. All right, and he says here, to pollute the sanctuary and holy people, which was us. Not the ones that already had consented to the religion already. All right, but go ahead.
Verse 47.
Go ahead.
Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts.
Just see that? We want us to sacrifice swine's flesh. Now, I don't know if y'all know. See, I'm a Judite. I'm from the South. And Ephraim might know about this as well, how they, our people, we used to slaughter hogs, in the deep South. My grandfather did that. All right, we slaughter hogs. But he used to always do it on the coldest day of the year. Because he said during the summertime, the smell would be so horrible when you slaughtering a hog. All right? So just imagine, they wanted us to sacrifice on the altar swine's flesh. Now y'all know, Judite homes, when you smell them, when you smell them chitlins, all right? Y'all know how that smell is, right? All right? And those pigtails, them pig feet, all right? Now just imagine that smell in the temple, all right? This is what they're forcing us to do. And all other unclean beasts, all right? That's against our law. All right, continue on.
Verse 48.
Go ahead.
That they should also leave their children uncircumcised.
You see that, sisters? All right, they always also wanted you to keep your children from being circumcised, or your sons. The Greeks didn't do that. Remember, that's a covenant for who? That was for Israel. All right, so they knew that. They said, you know what? We're going to tell the women, don't circumcise your kids. Because once we stop doing that, that detaches us from the Most High. Because the Most High said that's a sign between us and him. All right, continue on.
And make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation.
That can go on all levels. All right, prostitution, all right, any detestable things, all right, whoremongering, everything. They want us to go against the laws of the Most High. All right, y'all see that? All right, now, let's move right along some more. Now, matter of fact, let's read verse 50. Read on down to 50.
To the end they might forget the law.
Underline that. See the Greeks, see what they want us to do? They want us to forget the laws of the Most High. It's right there for us. That's the Hellenists. They want us to forget the law. All right, go ahead.
And change all the ordinances.
And change all the ordinances. All our laws, our high holy days, etc. Our time, all right? They want us to totally forget about that. All right, verse 50.
And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
And that's when we caught some hell right there. So now they began to force us. Again, like I said, it was some Israelites that consented voluntarily. But many of us didn't. And they said, if you don't, in that letter, it said, if you don't, you're going to die. And that's when they forced Hellenism upon the children of Israel. And our lives changed even to this day. All right? Now, let's jump down to verse 53.
Verse 53.
Now, when it begins to threaten us and tell us that we're going to be killed if we don't become Hellenists, this is what happened. Verse 53.
And drove the Israelites into secret places, even wheresoever they could flee for succor.
They wanted to flee to succor, meaning flee for help. Now, my question to you, it says, and drove the Israelites into secret places. What are the secret places? It could be. All right? Anywhere you could be, you could hide out. Okay. It could be that. Not the catacombs. Now, let me ask you this. Say if you commit a crime, or even back in the civil rights movement, when you flee, some people flee to a certain place because this particular place, the police is not going to come. It was the church. All right? That's why a lot of civil rights movements, their meetings were held in the church. Not so much that the preachers was at head of the movement, such as Martin Luther King. All right? It wasn't because of him that they was in the church. It's the fact the church was considered a safe haven, and that police wouldn't automatically run inside the church. All right? That's why during the civil rights movement, when they bombed the churches, that made Israel mad. It made us mad, because that's supposed to be a sacred place. Police detectives not supposed to run up inside of a holy place, which is a church. All right, with that same mindset, that's what we did. We ran to a secret place, which is what is known as the temples, believing that they're not going to come in our temple. But the Most High said he's going to send them right into our sanctuary. All right, now, and I'm going to show you what I mean. Let's go back to verse 37. All right, verse 37.
The book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 37. Thus, they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary.
You see that? So the ones that wouldn't voluntarily become a Hellenist, and we fled, and might have went to secret places, some went to the mountains, all right? And we're going to discuss that in a minute. But the ones that went to the temple, the scripture says what? They did what?
Shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it.
All right, they shed innocent blood. Innocent blood. All right, continue on.
Insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them.
Underline that where it says inhabitants of Jerusalem fled. We fled. Okay, inhabitants. That's the children of Israel. We were in Jerusalem. We fled because of the Greeks. Go ahead.
Whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers.
So the city of David all of us fled. We fled out of there. And became strangers in our land. The Greeks came to our land. They were strangers now. We began to flee. All right, go ahead.
And became strange to those that were born in her, and her own children left her.
All right, now, that is actually what is known as, you can write this down, the Hellenistic diaspora. That's exactly when that happened. The Hellenistic diaspora. This is when we fled out of Bethlehem. All right? Now, I want to show you what I mean. I'm going to show you a map about dispersion. Let's go to PowerPoint 18. All right? And I believe I showed this particular map in the previous class. All right? Let's take a look at this map. Now, I want you to look closely at this map. Look closely. All right, now you can see, where did we flee? Some of us fled south, all right, and that's going towards Egypt. All right, some of us fled south. But the most of us, we went up north. All right, y'all see those? You see those arrows? We went towards what is known as Europe. That's Europe. Some fled to Egypt, but a lot of us fled to Europe. Now, I'm going to show you on an up-to-date map what that area is today. All right? Let's go to PowerPoint 19. PowerPoint 19. It's the same area. Now, what is the area that we fled to?
Turkey?
It's Turkey. That's in Europe. All right? We fled towards Turkey. Okay? Go back to the previous slide so you can see it. All right? So you can see it's the same map. All right? All right, so when you see Cappadocia, Galatia, all right, where's that at? That's in Turkey. All right, so then we started fleeing. That's the Hellenistic diaspora. All right, now, let me show y'all something now. Let's go to the book of Acts. Go to the book of Acts. And let's go to chapter 14. All right. Y'all with me? All right, let's go to the book of Acts, chapter 14. And let's begin at verse 8.
You said verse 8?
Verse 8. Acts chapter 14, verse 8.
Reading from the book of Acts, chapter 14, verse 8.
Come on. Mm-hmm.
And there sat a certain man at Lystra, impotent in his feet, being a cripple from his mother's womb, who never had walked.
All right, now, I want you to underline, it says, a certain man at Lystra. All right, this is very, very important. At Lystra. Now, does anybody know what Lystra is? Mm-hmm. Or even back then, so it's still there. All right, let's go to PowerPoint. Let's show PowerPoint number 20. PowerPoint number 20. And what you see on this PowerPoint here, this is Paul's second journey. All right. Y'all see Lystra? Where's that at?
Europe.
In Turkey. In Turkey. All right. All right. A lot of churches were in Turkey where we fled. Okay. Now this is Paul's second journey.
Yeah.
Now where was Paul going? All right. Don't answer it. All right. Let's go back to Acts 14 chapter. Now there's a certain man. All right, in Lystra, in Turkey, where we fled, all right, where we fled, all right, who was crippled from his mother's womb. All right, read verse 9.
The same heard Paul speak, who steadfastly beholding him and perceiving that he had faith to be healed.
All right, so Paul began to visit these people. And he saw this certain man Elisha who was impotent. And it says he heard Paul speak. Paul was preaching. Paul's no more Saul now. He's Paul now. All right? He's traveling now. All right? It said Paul steadfastly, he focused on this certain man and picked up in his spirit. I think this brother right here, I think he believes. All right? Paul picked up on his spirit. All right? Continue on verse 10.
Said with a loud voice, stand upright on thy feet. And he leaped and walked.
All right, so this impotent man, this man that was crippled from birth, the scripture said he leaped. The spirit jumped on him and he leaped. All right? And began to walk. But Paul knew that because he looked at his spirit. He wants to be healed. And he believed what I was saying. And Paul was talking about who? Yahawashi. All right? Remember, Paul brought the word of Yahawashi. Okay? They didn't hear about Yahawashi at this time because they fled from the Greeks. They've been there since the Greeks. All right? Remember, this is actually AD 45. The Greek dispersion was when?
33.
Yeah. You talk about a good 100, 200 years dug in. All right? These were Hellenists in that area. All right? And then we had two dispersions. Okay? Continue reading.
Verse 11.
Go ahead.
And when the people saw what Paul had done.
What people? Who are these people? Those are Israelites. Those are Hellenists. All right, read that again.
And when the people saw what Paul had done.
When they saw that he basically healed them in the name of Yahawashi. Go ahead.
They lifted up their voices, saying in the speech of Lycaonia, the gods are come down to us in the likeness of men.
All right, now, that Lycaonia language, that was a mixture of Greek language. Now, where did they learn these gods from? All right? They were actually Hellenists that actually fled. All right? Though that was Israel. Okay? That was Israel. All right, he said the gods have come down to us in the likeness of men because all they knew was what? The 12 Olympians, Zeus, Jupiter, Mercury. That's all they knew. They said the gods had come down. Zeus has come down. All right, continue reading.
Verse 12. And they called Barnabas Jupiter.
They called Barnabas what?
And they called Barnabas Jupiter.
Which is also Zeus, the supreme God. They looked at Barnabas in that way. They called him a supreme God. The God had come back down to us. All right, go ahead.
And Paul Mercurius.
They called Paul Mercurius, in other words, Hermes. Now you read about Hermes, he was like the messenger God. So because Paul spoke well, all right, they call him the messenger. They call him Mercurius. All right, continue on.
Because he was the chief speaker.
He was the chief speaker. All right. So they said, these are Israelites in Turkey that were Hellenists. All right. Continue on.
Then the priest of Jupiter.
They even had a priest. A priest of Jupiter. Just how much they were dug in to what known as Hellenism. All right. They didn't believe in the Most High. Okay, they didn't believe in the Most High. All right, go ahead.
Which was before the city brought oxen and garlands unto the gates and would have done sacrifice with the people.
See, now he act like he in Israel. He bring his sacrifice. He's a priest, but he's a priest of Jupiter, a Greek god. They sacrificing to this Greek god. All right, go ahead.
Which when the apostles Barnabas and Paul heard of, they rent their clothes and ran in among the people crying out.
So when Barnabas and Paul seen it, it's like they just said, what the hell? What are y'all doing? They ran in there. What are y'all doing? All right, go ahead.
And saying, sirs, why do you these things?
Why are y'all doing these things? Why are y'all doing it? Why are y'all sacrificing to Jupiter? All right, go ahead.
We also are men of like passions with you, and preach unto you that ye should turn from these vanities unto the living power.
All right, so he said, listen, we got the same passion that you have. All right, y'all sacrificing the gods. All right, but then he said, we come to tell you that you should turn from these vanities unto the Most High. All right, the vanities was what? All the Greek gods, the 12 Olympians, God of the underground, the God of the earth, the God of the sea. All right, he said, y'all turn from those vanities, but turn to the Most High. Go ahead.
Which made heaven and earth and the sea.
Underline heaven, earth, and sea. Now, the reason Paul and them said that, because he said, turn to the Most High, right, which made heaven, because they had a God for the heavens, which was Zeus. He said, turn from that. The Most High made heaven. You don't have a sacrifice to Zeus. Then he says, earth. They had a God of the earth. He said, the Most High made that. What are y'all doing? Y'all don't sacrifice to the God of earth, the Most High. That's who does it. And he said, and the sea. They had a sea god too.
Poseidon.
You remember that? All right? These were all Hellenist people. Okay? All right? And continue on. And all what?
And all things that are therein.
And therein, the Most High, complete control of everything. All right, but now look at this here. They were so much, but we're going to keep reading. Verse 16.
Who in times past suffered all nations to walk in their own ways.
Of course, the Most High created all nations, but he allowed them to do what they wanted to do. All right? Go ahead.
Nevertheless, he left not himself without witness.
He got one witness. Who was that? Israel. Out of all the nations, the Most High left one witness. That was us. He allowed the nations to do whatever they want. But he said, I got one witness, which is Israel. Go ahead.
In that he did good.
And Paul said he did good. The Most High did good by having that one witness, which is Israel. Go ahead.
And gave us rain from heaven.
Go ahead.
And fruitful seasons, filling our hearts with food and gladness.
All right, so now you see where all those are gods from heaven, fruitful season. They had gods of productivity. All right, God of success. All these different gods. All right, but he's telling the Most High, and Israel's a witness of that. All right, continue on.
Verse 18.
Go ahead.
And with these sayings scarce restrained they the people, that they had not done sacrifice unto them.
All right, so now they were so dug in that they could hardly keep them from sacrificing. They were still sacrificing to those gods. Okay, y'all see that? All right, let's move on. Let's move on. Now, question. Paul wrote 2 letters to Timothy. All right? He wrote 2 letters to Timothy. Now, where was Timothy from? All right, where was Timothy from? All right? Let's find out where Timothy is from. Let's go to Acts the 16th chapter.
Reading from the book of Acts, chapter 16, verse 1.
Come on.
Then came he to Derbe and Lystra.
Again, underline where? Lystra. Where's that at? Go ahead.
And behold, a certain disciple was there, named Timotheus.
Now, where was Timotheus from? And specifically Lystra, the same area. Y'all see that? All right, continue on.
The son of a certain woman, which was a Jewess, and believed, but his father was a Greek.
Y'all see that? His mother was a Jew, all right? But his father was a Hellenist. Y'all see that? She believed in Yahawashi. She believed what Paul said. She was a Jew. She followed the laws. But she was married to one of the Hellenists that was already there, that were Israelites. Okay? Read that again so I can sink that, so I can sink in. All right, go ahead.
Verse 1. Then came he to Derbe and to Lystra, and behold, a certain disciple was there, named Timotheus, the son of a certain woman, which was a Jewess, and believed, but his father was a Greek.
All right, underline it, Greek, and you put Hellenists there. All right, these were Israelites. So Timothy was not a heathen. All right? Timothy was an Israelite. All right, continue reading, verse 2.
Which was well reported of by the brethren that were at Lystra and Iconium.
All right, now, you got to remember, this was Paul started traveling. But we've been there. We was already there upon the Hellenistic dispersion. We was already there. And also after the Romans. Okay? All right, go ahead.
Verse 3. Him would Paul have to go forth with him, and took and circumcised him because of the Jews which were in those quarters.
All right.
For they knew all that his father was a Greek.
His father was a Hellenist. Y'all got that understanding? All right. Okay, let's move right along. All right, y'all should start waking up now. Y'all should be waking up now. All right, now. That's why the scripture says, and you shall know the truth, and the truth shall what? Make you free. All right? Y'all should start waking up now. All right, now. Let's go and talk about, and someone asked about that. They wanted me to talk a little bit more about what is known as the Hasidians. All right, the Hasidians. They wanted me to learn to talk a little bit more about that. So, let's go to 1 Maccabees, the 2nd chapter. Y'all all right? All right. So 1 Maccabees, 2nd chapter. And I want my readers to begin at the 42nd verse. 1 Maccabees, 2nd chapter, 42nd verse. We're going to read about the Hasidians. Some people have some questions about them. All right, go ahead.
Reading out of the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 2, and verse 42.
Come on.
Then came there unto him a company of Hasidians.
All right, underline it, there were Hasidians. Underline that. Hasidians. Okay. Hasidians. Now, who were they? Go ahead.
Who were mighty men of Israel.
These were mighty men of Israel. You can underline that as well. These Hasidians, they were different. The scripture said they were mighty men of Israel. Go ahead.
Even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law.
Scripture said they were voluntarily, nobody forced them, they were voluntarily devoted to the laws of the Most High. The scripture saying, at the same time said they were mighty men of Israel. Now, when you read into the history of them, they were very nationalistic. All right? They didn't get into politics. Okay? They were strictly against Hellenism and paganism. So all those gods, they were strictly against that. And if anybody was doing that, they would actually kill them. Even Israelites. All right? Now, like I said, they were different. They were different from the Maccabees. There was a separate group of men, all right, that were separate from the Maccabees. Now, their main goal was to defend the laws of the Most High against the Greeks. And when you read the history, if it wasn't for the Hasidians, the Maccabees would never have been successful. This group of men right here helped the Maccabees. If Judas didn't, begin with them or become in league with them, they would never be, Judas Maccabee would never been what he was. All right, because of the Hasidians. All right? Now, let's go to 1 Maccabees, the 2nd chapter. Let's read the 44th verse, 43rd and 44th verse.
Verse 43. Also, all they that fled for persecution joined themselves unto them.
So everybody that fled from the Hellenists, when the Greeks came in, they joined into the Hasidians. All right, go ahead.
and were a stay unto them.
And they stayed with them. Go ahead.
So they joined forces and smote sinful men in their anger.
See what they did? These Syrians, they were so devoted to the law. They was against paganism. They was against Hellenism. That anybody, no matter if he's Israel or not, all right, sinful men in anger, they will actually kill them. All right, continue on.
And wicked men in their wrath.
Go ahead.
But the rest fled to the heathen for succor.
All right, so Israel, the ones that didn't escape, they went to the heathen. They went back to the Greeks because the Syrians were so rough. And like I said, they didn't get into the politics. All right, the Maccabees was into the politics. The Syrians didn't want nothing to do with the politics. All right, now, let's go to PowerPoint 21. All right, PowerPoint 21. Okay, now, y'all see them? Those are not Hasidians. Okay, they call themselves what? Hasidics. All right, those are not the Hasidians that's back here in the book of Maccabees. All right, so y'all take a good look at that. Those are not Hasidians. All right, I got a question on that. Nah, those are not the Hasidians. These not the ones that help. These not the ones that help the Maccabees. So get that out of your mind. All right? They call themselves Hasidics. All right? I call it privileged ignorance. That's what I call it. Privileged ignorance. All right? Because they know damn well they not the Syrians. Go ahead, Ben.
And to prove that, right? Because even today, right? They don't fight in the Israeli military. They don't engage in no kind of warfare with the United States or the Israeli government.
Good. So everybody take a good look at that. When you see them, don't think about the book of Maccabees. All right? Because they inherited lies. All right? That's not them. All right? Those are not the Syrians. The Syrians were actually, all right, real quick. Go ahead.
Their movement, the Hasidics that are up there, started in the 18th century, well after the times of Jesus.
Or they try to latch on. They try to steal everything that we were. Remember that. They steal everything that we were. They're trying to be us. But you know who these people were? The Syrians originally? All right? They were largely from the tribe of Benjamin. You had some Judites in there too. But when you go to really understand and read the spiritual part of it, though, that was largely Benjamin, okay, that didn't care about no politics, all right? They didn't want to get to know, they wanted to follow laws, and anybody that threatened them, they would take them out. And again, like I said, the Maccabees, if it wasn't for them, they would have never been successful. All right, now, let's go to 2 Maccabees, and I'm going to show you what I mean. This is how rough they were. Go to 2 Maccabees, the 14th chapter. Again, these are mostly Benjamites. All right, 2 Maccabees, the 14th chapter. So when you see them, these are not the same people. I'm making that clear. All right, the 14th chapter. Let's read the 6th verse.
Reading from the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 14, verse 6. Those of the Jews that be called the Syrians.
You see how the scripture is starting off? He said, those of the Jews that be called Syrians, go ahead.
Whose captain is Judas Maccabeus.
Now, because Judas Maccabeus was so successful with the Syrians, he actually began to join them. But like I said, the Syrians, they didn't want to get into no politics. All right, they don't want to get into no politics. Hey, all right, you want to deal with politics? We'll let you deal with it. You can tell them you over us, even though you're not. But we'll help you to a certain point. All right, but we're not sitting down with nobody. All right, the Syrians didn't sit down with nobody. All right, go ahead.
Nourish war.
They what?
Nourish war.
Go ahead.
And are seditious. And will not let the realm be in peace.
All right, he said, they so rough, they nourish war and are seditious, meaning they incite rebellion. All right? They strictly about Mosai laws. Anybody got a problem with it? You gone. All right, so they was Norwich war, all right, they were seditious, and it says here, and they will not let the realm be in peace. In other words, let them know, as long as you got the Syrians there, it's never going to be peace in Greece. That's what he's telling them. All right, now, I don't know if my video department, man, if you can give me some what Benjamin, give me that vibration of Benjamin if you can. All right? Because these were not Edomites. All right, these were Benjamites. All right, so I just want y'all to, if he can provide that for us, I want you to get a sense of what the Syrians were like. All right? All right? Get that sense? Straight rebellion. All right? Revolution. All right? Like I said, they were largely Benjamites. All right? They had Judites with them, but they were mainly Benjamites and the Syrians. All right? They didn't give a hell about politics. All right? So you get that sense of them? Okay, now. Thank you for that, my brother. You want some more? All right, that's Benjamin. Go ahead. If you got it, you get the sense of. You can put it on. I'll let you do your thing. Go ahead, man. I'll take over after, man. All right, but this is the sense of what they were like. Okay. They didn't give a damn about no queen or no king. All right? No monarchy. They didn't give a damn about that. All right? All right, this is what they were like. Okay? You coming back, video department? You coming back with more? You got more? All right, give them one more. They want one more. Tell them how the Syrians were. All right. So y'all can get a sense. All right. Now remember, I'm a Judite. But when I hear Benjamin, boy, and they always talking about revolution, Zion, all right? So this how the Syrians were. All right? So get a sense of them. Got more.
And it's what I've got to say. And all them that heed y'all please.
All right. You feel like, you feel it, Ben?
So shall the wicked man
all right.
These
are the Syrians. All right? Now, y'all remember the Crown Heights? All right, y'all remember that, right? Some of y'all might be a little younger and might not remember the Crown Heights riots. All right? That was largely Benjamin. All right? Had Judah with them too. Judah snuck in every once in a while and try to do a little something, but that was mainly Benjamin against the Hasidics in Crown Heights. Y'all remember that, right? Okay, go back and look at that history. All right? But my point there, that's dealing with the Syrians. Okay, now let's move right along. Thank you, video department. I appreciate that. Let's go to PowerPoint. Let's go back to the Maccabees, or we're going to talk more about the Maccabees. PowerPoint number 22. And again, like I said, if it wasn't for the Syrians, the Maccabees revolt, which only lasted 7 years, would not have been successful. All right, let's go to the PowerPoint number 22. All right, my reader.
The Maccabees, also spelled Maccabees, were a group of Levite rebel warriors who took control of Judea, which at the time was part of the Seleucid Empire.
All right, so these Levites, these are Maccabees, are all Levites, all right? They took control of Judah, okay, with the help of the Sidonians, the Benjamites. All right, go ahead.
They founded the Hasmonean dynasty.
All right, if you didn't know that, questions this week, I didn't know, a lot of people didn't know about the Hasmonean dynasty. I didn't know that. All right? Those were not Edomites. The Hasmonean dynasty was founded, it was founded by the Maccabees. Those were Levites. The Hasmonean dynasty were Levites. Okay? They were Levites. All right, continue.
Which ruled from 167 BCE to 37 BCE.
All right, so they ruled from 167. This is a dynasty. All right, this is a dynasty they had. They ruled from 167 to 37. How many years is that? Anybody got a clock it? How many years is that?
130 years.
How many years?
130.
How many years?
130.
You sure? 167 minus 37 is how many? 100 and what? They ruled for 130 years. These were Levites. All right, these are Hasmonean dynasty that ruled in Judea. Okay, now, remember I told you Judah stooped down. Davidic kings, they were there. All right, because remember it says from Babylon to Yasharahla, 14 generations. That's during the Hellenistic period. Okay? All right, continue on.
Being a fully independent kingdom from about 110 to 63 before the Common Era.
All right, now, we even became an independent kingdom under the Levites. Levites, they did a hell of a job holding us down because Judah wasn't there. Now, how many years was that? We was an independent kingdom from 110 to 63. How many years is that? No. 110 to 63 is
47.
about 47 years. So with 47 years, we was an independent kingdom. All right, I'm going to show you what that looked like. Let's go to PowerPoint 23. 47 years, we was an independent kingdom. This is how we look. All right? 47 years as an independent kingdom under the Levites. That was the Hasmoneans, the Maccabees. All right? That was us. Those are Levites. So whenever you hear that word Hasmonean, do not think of Esau. All right? They try to claim that's them. That's not them. Those were Levites. All right, you see that?
Okay.
All right, now let's move along. Let's go to 1 Maccabees 8th chapter. Now we're going to talk about what is known as the fall of the Maccabees, because it ended. And when you start reading the history of this, right, we began to fight amongst each other because Levi couldn't rule, it couldn't keep ruling, because that wouldn't be according to prophecy. All right, so it had to end. So we began to fight against each other. It got to the point where the Sidonians began to fight against the Maccabees. You can imagine how that fight was. All right, got to the point, the Sidonians got so much of the Maccabees, right, that the Maccabees had to go to the Romans for help against the Sidonians. All right, we had a civil war. Because like I said, the Sidonians didn't want to deal with who? They want to deal with no Romans, no Greeks. We want to follow the laws of the Most High. Don't try, just because you got a dynasty. When you have a dynasty, that means your king is after you. So Levites, they was rulership and they had dynasties. All right? But in order to stay and maintain that, they had to go and be in league with the Greeks and the Romans at times. Okay, now, 1 Maccabees 8:1.
Reading from the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 8, verse 1.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Now Judas had heard of the fame of the Romans.
I see. Judas knew about the Romans. The Romans was coming. regardless. That's why I said Antiochus was a captive in Rome. You remember that? Because the Romans was coming. All right? They were coming. So now, here it is, Judas, he started hearing about these Romans. We conquered the Greeks. We got them off our back, but these Romans, we remember them before, but they getting stronger and stronger. All right, continue.
That they were mighty and valiant men.
Go ahead.
And such as would lovingly accept all that joined themselves unto them.
All right, now, the Romans, because they weren't in full power, and everybody knew that they was coming to have the next superpower, they said, anybody want to come along with us now? Come on, we won't fight against y'all. Just come with us now. But we coming. All right, go ahead.
And make a league of amity with all that came unto them.
All right, so now, that was the fall of the Hasmonean dynasty, the Maccabees or Levites. We started making agreements with the Romans, especially during our civil wars. Okay? We made agreements to bring them in to our dynasty. That was a wrong thing to do. And the Scythians, boy, they was upset. All right, like I said, they don't give a damn about no queen. They don't give a damn about no king. They ain't give a damn about no monarchy. All right, now, go to PowerPoint 24. PowerPoint 24. I want you to read this here. All right?
The Hasmonean dynasty had survived for 103 years before yielding to the Herodian dynasty.
All right, so we had a good run. The Levites had a good run. 103 years, all right, before we yielded our power up to the Herodians. All right, these are the Romans. These are the ones that are coming. All right, go ahead.
Before yielding to the Herodian dynasty in 37 before the Common Era.
All right, 37 years before Christ was born. Now, think about it. This is 37 years before Christ was born. That means Joseph was living. All right. That means Jacob, his grandfather, was living. All right, because that's all a part of the 14 generations from Babylon to Yasharahla. Joseph was living. Okay. All right, continue on.
The installation of Herod the Great and Idumean as king in 37 BCE.
All right, now, who said the Edomites, the Romans are not Edomites? Who said that? All right, the Romans were Edomites. It's telling you right there, read it again. Go ahead.
The installation of Herod the Great and Idumean.
Idumean, he was from the Edomites. All right? He was not an Israelite. He was not a Levite. All right, go ahead.
As king in 37 BCE, made Judea a Roman client state and marked the end of the Hasmonean dynasty.
That was it. All right, in 37 BCE, when they installed Herod the Great, because now the Romans came, all right, and the Maccabees, or the Hasmoneans, began to make agreements with the Romans for help. And then the Romans just took them over. All right, then they installed them. All right, continue on.
Even then, Herod tried to bolster the legitimacy of his reign by marrying a Hasmonean princess, Mariamne.
Okay, now look at he shouldn't be he shouldn't be over the Hasmonean. He shouldn't be over Judah. He knows that. All right. When the Greek, they just came out. They beat the Greeks. The Romans coming up. He knows I'm not a part. I'm not a part of their family. But he tried to bolster his legitimacy because they installed them by marrying a Hasmonean priest. In other words, marrying a Levite priest. This was a sister. Okay? And the Levites allowed it. So what do you think the Scythians thought about that? Them Benjamites, boy, they were steaming. All right? The Maccabees allowed Herod to marry their own sister. Okay, continue reading.
By marrying a Hasmonean princess, Mariamne, and planning to drown the last male Hasmonean heir at his Jericho palace.
Now, see, he know. All right? He know, okay. And Herod, he was smart because if you read the history, Herod tried to install Herod twice. The first time, we ran him out of there. All right? You read the history. And that was about 60-something BC. We ran Herod out of there. Then he came back. This is the second time he's coming back to try to take over Jerusalem. All right? And this time, he had to help the Romans. More power by this time. And they installed them. And then he wanted to marry a priest now, marrying the princess, which was a Levite. Now, we're going to come back to go to PowerPoint 23. And I showed this in the last class. PowerPoint 23. Now, remember, this is a Levite. This is a Levite. Marian the First was a Levite. That was a sister. Okay? All right? Read that for me.
Meriemni the First died 29 before the Common Era, also called Meriemni the Hasmonean.
Because what? She was descendant of the Hasmonean, or the Levites, the Maccabees. All right? She was their sister. All right? A princess. All right, go ahead.
Was a Hasmonean princess and the second wife of Herod the Great.
Because he tried to legitimize his how would you say, his installation as a Hasmonean, because he wanted to marry into the family to make it legitimate. All right, a lot of them monarchs do that. They marry into it to make it legitimate. All right, go ahead.
She was known for her great beauty.
She was beautiful. All right, this is Israelite. She was beautiful, just like Sarah. All right, beautiful. Go ahead.
As was her brother Aristobulus III.
You read about Aristobulus III. That was a Levite Hasmonean priest. All right, now he agreed to this. That's what the problem was. He brought the Romans into the family just to stay in power. Remember, they had a dynasty. He did that to stay in power. Okay, go ahead.
Herod's fear of his rivals, the Hasmoneans.
So he knew, okay, these are Maccabees. They might just bring me in and then kill me. All right, this is Herod was saying. Go ahead.
Led him to execute all of the prominent members of the family.
So he began to kill all the Maccabees men. All right, he began to kill them. Go ahead.
Including Meriemni.
And her. Killed her. And that, when you hear about that, that was the end of the Hasmonean dynasty. All right, that was the end of the Hasmonean dynasty. All right, read that in Hebrew. Go ahead.
In Hebrew, Meriemni is known as Miriam.
Go ahead.
As in the traditional biblical name, see Miriam, the sister of Moses and Aaron.
All right, so now, that was an Israelite. All right, Herod now became the king of Judah. He killed the Maccabees off, killed the wife. All right, so now he just took over. That was the end of the Hasmonean dynasty. Now, go back to PowerPoint, the one before that. I think it's 24. Read that last precept.
In 6 Common Era, Rome joined Judea proper, Samaria and Idumea into the Roman province of Judea.
All right, so now the Romans took over. All right, the Romans took over. And boy, you thought the Greeks was rough. The Romans. When you really understand the Romans, and you understand these scriptures, now you're going to see where it was actually a war in heaven. All right? It was a war in heaven when the Romans came into power. And I'm going to show you what I mean by that. It was a war in heaven when the Romans came into power. Let's go to Book of Matthew, 2nd chapter. All right, so we out of the Greeks now. Hasmonean dynasty is done. Herod is in power now. The Romans is ruling. All right? Let's go to Matthew, the 2nd chapter. Let's read the first verse. And like I said, when this happened, there was a war in heaven. Okay? There was a war in heaven. All right, go to Matthew, the 2nd chapter, 1st verse.
Reading out of the book of Matthew, chapter 2, verse 1. Now when Yahushua was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king,
Who was ruling?
in the days of Herod the king, behold, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem.
All right, now it says, in Bethlehem, in the days of Judah, in the days of Herod the king. So Herod was now the king of Judea. Not the Levites, not the Hasmoneans anymore. Can y'all see that? All right, this is history. All right, so now we're going to the Romans. And then it says here, there came wise men from the east to Jerusalem. Now I'm going to say this. The wise men, you don't really read too much about them. All right? The wise men, they were as angels. And I'm going to explain that. They weren't angels, but they were as angels. Okay? Let's continue reading.
Verse 2, saying, where is he that is born King of the Jews?
Now, these wise men, like I said, as they saying, where is he that is King of the Jews? They're not asking in terms of, is there a King of the Jews? They said, where is the King of the Jews? All right, because they know. All right, continue on.
For we have seen his star in the east, and are come to worship him.
They come to worship him. Remember I said, and we're going to look at the scriptures too. Whatever's bound on earth is bound in heaven. All right? And the wise men were as angels. All right? They came to worship Yahushua. Go ahead, continue.
Verse 3, when Herod the king had heard these things, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him.
All right, underline when he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. Now, he don't kill off all the Hasmoneans. He don't took them all. He took them down. He ain't got to worry about the Maccabees. All right? He ain't got to worry about the Syrians. All right? He ain't got to worry about them. But the scripture said he was troubled when the wise men came. Now, the vibration that the wise men came, the wise men didn't come really asking Herod for anything. When they came, they asked Herod for them. They had no fear of Herod. All right, like I said, they was as like angels. They would come with a certain vibration. And when Herod heard that, he was troubled. And then the scripture said, and all Israel was troubled as well. All right? Because they said, where is he that is king? Herod's supposed to be a king. Now they said, what? There's another king in Israel. So, yeah, as you know, there can't be two kings. There only could be one. So Herod was worried. The wise men questioning with a different vibration. They come to worship him. They ain't come to worship Herod. All right? They came with a totally different vibration. Like I said, the wise men wasn't angels, but they were as angels. All right, let's continue reading.
Verse 4. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he demanded of them where Hamashiach should be born.
All right, now, Pilate, you got Herod. Notice what he did. He gathered the chief priests and the scribes. All right? And he said, the scripture said he demanded. All right? He didn't demand nothing of the wise men yet. He demanded, he said, all right, all you, what we call church leaders. All right? I want y'all to tell me where Yahushua shall be born. All right? So today, we bring up today all the church leaders. This is what Herod did. He grabbed all the chief priests and the scribes. All right? Continue on verse 5.
And they said unto him, in Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it is written by the prophet.
Go ahead.
And thou, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, art not the least among the princes of Judah, for out of thee shall come a governor that shall rule my people Israel.
All right, now, they quoted the Old Testament. And also, they know that's Davidic kings. Okay? Remember, the Levites is gone already. They gone. The Hasmonean is over. Okay? All right, now they quoted the Old Testament that the prince of Judah, the tribe of Judah, is coming. All right? Go ahead. And he said, and shall rule my people. Now that's a direct threat to King Herod. That's a direct threat. The scripture's direct threat to Herod. So when they read that scripture to him, he didn't like that. All right? He didn't like that. Go ahead.
Then Herod, when he had privily called the wise men.
All right, so now he went to the wise men privately. He didn't demand them. He found out where they were. Like they had a different vibration. The wise men had a different vibration on them. All right? He went to them privately.
Inquired of them diligently.
And asked. Kept asking them. You know, he didn't demand nothing from the wise men. He asked them a couple of times. All right? Go ahead.
What time the star appeared.
He said, what time the star appeared? All right? Go ahead.
And he sent them to Bethlehem. And said, go and search diligently for the young child.
Go ahead.
And when ye have found him, bring me word again, that I may come and worship him also.
Now you know, Herod, he that's a lie, right? I know that's a big lie there. He didn't want to worship him. Y'all know that. He just saying that. But the wise men, like I said, they got different vibration. They not listening to that. All right? So you see how deceitful, a liar, and he's a what? What is Herod?
A fox.
What is he? What is? Okay. All right. Okay. Read verse 9. Read verse 9.
When they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was.
All right, now. When you see that star ain't no, it ain't no star that you look up in the sky and see. All right? That was actually a chariot. All right? Because scripture says, till it came and stood over, like it hovered. It hovered. Esau called it UFOs. All right? But we know those are chariots.
Con.
Scriptures say star, but we know those are chariots. So it came and it hovered over Yahushua. All right, let's read that again.
When they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them.
All right, so it went right before them, then they followed. Go ahead.
Till it came and stood over where the young child was.
Just imagine this chariot have a fire on it. This chariot have fire. All right, this is the nighttime had fire. You can see the fire. All right? And it moved and hovered. Okay? Stood over. Go ahead.
When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy.
Now, you see that? It says when they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceeding great joy. Okay? Like I said, he wasn't angels, but they were as angels. All right? Continue on.
And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary, his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And when they had opened their treasures, they presented unto him gifts, gold, and frankincense, and myrrh.
All right, now, what was the first thing they gave Yahushua?
Gold.
Yahushua was rich at birth. Yahushua was rich at birth, whether y'all know that or not. He was rich at birth. All right? They gave him gold. Okay, now remember, it's only two times in life when you should look to receive something. All right? Once is when you have a child. When you have a child, you should look to receive something. Okay? Every person bring you gifts. All right? And also when you become married. That's another time that you look to receive. Other than that, you shouldn't look to receive. All right, so when Yahushua was born, the first thing the wise men gave him, like I said, these were like angels, because they came to worship him. And whatever's bound in earth is bound in heaven. I'm going to show you that. All right, now, they gave him gold. Yahushua was rich at birth. All right? He had gold. He had gold, everybody. He had gold. All right, and then also they gave him what? frankincense. And frankincense ain't no cheap, perfect. That's not a cheap oil. Very, very expensive. Okay, very, very expensive. All right? And also they gave him myrrh. Myrrh also expensive. It's also antiseptic as well. All right, it had other benefits. Okay, so they gave Mary and the child a hefty gift. All right, now, like I said, whatever's bound on earth is bound in heaven. All right, let's go to Revelation really quick. Just real quick. Because what? Those wise men came as angels. They came and bowed down and worshiped Yahawashi. All right. Let's go to Revelations, 5th chapter. Let's read the 12th verse.
Reading out of the book of Revelation, chapter 5 and verse 12.
Come on.
Saying with a loud voice.
All right, this is the angel saying with a loud voice. Now, this is in the heavens. Go ahead.
Worthy is the Lamb that was slain to receive power.
All right, now, was Yahawashi born and became that lamb that was slain? Wasn't he?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
And riches, and wisdom, and strength, and honor, and glory, and blessing.
All right, so he was given riches even when he was on the earth. He was given riches, all right? He was given wisdom, right? He was given strength, honor, because that's what the wise men did. They honored him, all right? And glory and blessing. All right, remember, whatever's done on earth shall be bound in heaven. All right, continue on.
And every creature which is in heaven and on the earth.
All right, wasn't Yahawashi on earth? Go ahead.
And under the earth.
Go ahead.
And such as are in the sea, and all that are in them.
Go ahead.
Heard I saying, blessing and honor and glory and power be unto him that sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb forever and ever.
Now, Yahawashi was raised to become the sitter on the throne of David and ruler of the house of Jacob forever. He was this direct threat to Herod. All right, so whatever's bound on earth is actually bound in heaven. All right, now, let's move on. Let's go back to Matthew. And let's read verse 12. So he got riches, honor, blessings, and glory. All he got from the wise men, which were as angels. Again, they weren't angels, but they were as angels. They came to worship Yahawashi, just like they did in the heavens. They worshiped Yahawashi in the heavens. Okay, happy to see.
Verse 12.
Go ahead. Verse 12.
And being warned of Yahweh in a dream, that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way.
And there's no trace of who those wise men are. No name, there's not one name given nowhere. You can find no history book. Josephus doesn't have it. Nobody has the names of the wise men or where they from. All right? An endless lineage. All right? That's why I say they weren't angels, but they were as angels, the way they came and worshiped and gave Yahawashi those blessings, honor, and glory while he was on earth. They were the first ones. Whatever's bound on earth is bound in heaven. This thing they did in heaven. All right? Let's move right along. A little bit more, everybody. A little bit more. All right? Let's continue on. Let's go to verse 13.
And when they were departed, behold, the angel of the Adawan appeareth to Joseph in a dream, saying, Arise, and take the young child and his mother, and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word. For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him.
All right, there's a couple things I want to go over here. Underline fleeing to Egypt. Now, this is Joseph and Mary, right? They went into Egypt. Who else was in Egypt? Video department, go back to PowerPoint. Go back to PowerPoint. Give me PowerPoint number 7. PowerPoint number 7. Where did we flee? Is that 7?
I don't think so.
You need help?
Saquon. I don't think that's 30. It might be this one.
We'll let the video department bring it up for us. All right. The scripture said Mary, he told Joseph. He didn't tell Mary, he told Joseph, take that child, and his mother. All right, he went to the head of the house. He said, listen, you take that child and his mother, and you flee to Egypt. Now, who was in Egypt? Didn't we flee there before?
Khan.
All right, so it was a light thing for Joseph and Mary to go down to Egypt because what? Our people was there. We've been there. All right? It wasn't a strange thing. We fled to Egypt. Plus, it was close. All right, it's pretty close. Okay, so they went down to Egypt. All right, continue reading.
Verse 14. When
Go back to 13 again. It says, and he fled to Egypt and be there until what?
Until I bring thee word.
Okay.
For Herod will seek the young child to destroy him.
Destroy means murder. You can cross out the word destroy and put the word murder there. Because he said, for Herod will seek the young child to murder him. All right, we're not going to water it down. All right, we're not watering that down, all right? I want to use a stronger word there. All right, he said Herod, these are the Romans now. He said Herod, he said take his mother and that child and go to Egypt because Herod is going to murder the child. All right, continue on. Continue on.
Then when he arose, he took the young child and his mother by night and departed into Egypt.
All right, so he went by night. Now, you got to remember, the Romans knew who Joseph was. All right, they knew who Joseph. They know Joseph is from the divine Davidic line of David. They know that he is the father of Yahushua. Okay? He's the father of Yahushua. Get that in your mind. All right? He's a natural father of Yahushua. He was a king. All right? Like I tell everybody, if we didn't go into Babylon, Joseph would have been the king of Israel. You understand that?
God.
Because the scripture says from Babylon to Yahushua's 14 generations, 14 kings. Joseph would have been a king. So with that being said, the Romans knew who Joseph was. They were watching him, okay? But they didn't want Joseph, they wanted that child. Because when the wise men came, and based with that vibration said, where is he? And then the scribes brought the scriptures and said, this is the Prince of Judah. Ball game change. All right? Ball game change. All right? Continue on.
Verse 15.
Go ahead.
And was there until the death of Herod, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken of out of one by the prophet, saying, out of Egypt have I called my son.
All right, let's slow down a little bit. Remember I said there was a war from this chapter 2, verse 1. When Herod became the king, it was a war in heaven. All right? I'll show it to me. Go to Revelations, 12th chapter. Y'all all right? A bit more. Scripture said, and you should know the truth, and it shall what? All right. All right. Let's go to Revelations 12th chapter, the 4th verse.
Reading out of the book of Revelation, chapter 12 and verse 4.
Go ahead.
And his tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven.
All right. To get to understand this, you remember there was a war in heaven. When you read chapter 12, there's a war in heaven. All right? It's the angels versus Satan. All right? And the scripture said in verse 4, it says, and his tail. Now that tail of Satan is what is known as the Roman Empire. You can write this in your notes. All right? Now you know that the tail is on certain animals, the tail is the most powerful part of that animal. The Romans was the most powerful nation that actually ruled this earth. All right? Even stronger than the Egyptians. They didn't rule as long as the Egyptians, but they were more powerful with their influence. The Romans, nobody ever took down the Romans. Nobody ever took the Romans down, whether y'all know that or not. Unlike the Babylonians were taken down, okay? The Assyrians were taken down, the Egyptians were taken down. The Romans took down the Greeks. But nobody ever took the Romans down, okay? Nobody ever took them down. No other nation ever took them down. And that extension is all the way up to today. For example, the Romans still rule in your mind. They still rule. When going back to the Greek gods, Jupiter, the planet is named by the Romans. What's the most popular haircut in the barbershop, in the black barbershop? A Caesar. When you go to the barbershop, you go there and ask for a Caesar. The most popular haircut. So every time you go in there, you are hailing Caesar. Y'all see that? All right, now, like I said, it was war in heaven. That tail, go back to verse 4 to start off slow. Go ahead.
And his tail.
The tail of the Satan, go ahead.
Drew the third part of the stars of heaven.
The stars of heaven.
And
the stars of heaven, when you go back to verse 1, it's talking about the 12 tribes. Okay? Talking about the 12 tribes. All right? But it says the third part. That third part is what is known as what we call the southern kingdom. Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. All right? Those was one that was in Rome at that time. Repeat. The only tribes that were in Rome at the time were Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Okay? All right? And that's why I can't wait to teach on the other tribes. We're going to explain what they were doing at the same time. Okay? But right now, because they're in Rome, the third part of the 12 stars was Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. All right? So that tail was the Roman power that drew in by taking over the Greeks. All right? And they took on the third part of the stars. Go ahead, continue.
And did cast them to the earth.
All right, cast us to the earth, which means in that Roman Empire. Okay, we was in that Roman Empire. Because scripture said when Jesus was born, Yasharahla was born, right? Who was ruling?
Rome.
Herod. The Romans. All right, continue.
And the dragon stood before the woman.
All right, that dragon, who that dragon? That's Satan. Remember I said there was a war in heaven. When Yasharahla was born, there was a war in heaven. All right, the angels versus Satan. And the scripture says that the Satan or that dragon, right, he did what?
Stood before the woman which was ready to be delivered.
Who's that woman? Okay, two right answers I heard. I heard said Israel, which is true. But like I said, whatever was bound in heaven is bound where? In the earth. So who was in the earth? Mary. Yeah, see that? All right, read that again.
And the dragon stood before the woman,
Which is Mary, but also can be twofold Israel. Go ahead.
which was ready to be delivered,
All right.
for to devour her child as soon as it was born.
All right, so that dragon, which was the Roman Empire, specifically Herod, and going into Mary because as bound in earth, she's about to deliver Yahushua. And then what? Satan wanted to devour him as soon as he was born, which was Pilate and or Herod. All right, Pilate was at the end. Okay? All right, continue on.
Verse 5. And she brought forth a man-child.
Go ahead. Yahushua was what? A man-child. He was not a spirit. Yahushua was born of a man. He was a man-child, boy. All right, go ahead.
Who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron.
All right, he's going to rule because then he's going to come and what? Be the ruler of the Jacob, ruler over Jacob from the David's line, the king of Judah. Okay? He's going to rule all nations. All right, because that's in the prophecy. All right, go ahead.
And her child was caught up unto Yahweh and to his throne.
Right, now you know, as you read, on earth, when Yahushua was slain, he was caught up to the Most High on his throne because the scripture said he's going to rule over the house of Jacob forever. Hold that. Let's go to Matthew. This really quick. All right, let me go to it. I'll show what it means by ruling over. Let's go to the book of Luke. Go to the book, Luke. Let me get my. Let's go to Luke 2:33. Start at 32. A few more scriptures. Luke chapter 32, verse 32. Chapter 2, verse 32.
Reading from the book of Luke, chapter 2, verse 32.
Come on.
A light to lighten the Gentiles.
I'm sorry, 132.
132.
Salakia, 132.
The book of Luke, chapter 1, verse 32.
Come on.
He shall be great and shall be called the Son of the Highest.
Go ahead.
And the Adawan Yahweh shall give unto him the throne of his father David.
Continue.
And he shall reign over the house of Jacob forever. And of his kingdom there shall be no end.
There's going to be a reign over the house of Jacob, meaning all the 12 tribes. All, not just the southern. All right? All the 12 tribes. He's going to reign over all the 12 tribes forever. All right? That's who's caught up to the Most High. All right, go back to Revelations. I'm going to clarity on that. Revelations 12. And read 5 again.
The book of Revelation, chapter 12 and verse 5. And she brought forth a man-child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron.
Go ahead.
And her child was caught up unto Yahweh and to his throne.
To his throne. Go ahead.
And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of Yahweh, that they should feed her there 1,260 days.
All right. Where did Joseph take Mary and Yahushua?
Egypt.
They fled to Egypt. When it says here the woman fled, that's Mary, through the direction of the Most High through Joseph, fled into the wilderness. That wilderness was Egypt. All right? That was Egypt. Remember I said whatever's bound in earth is bound in heaven. All right? A place prepared, because the Most High had prepared that place, Egypt, for Joseph, Mary, and Yahushua. Okay? Now, how do we know that? If you calculate there are 2,203 score days, how long is that? 3.5 years. You said 3.5? 3.5. 3.5 years. How long was Joseph, Mary, and Yasharahla traveling to Egypt? 3.5 years. All right? They were there 3.5 years until the Most High told them to come back. All right? So whatever's bound on earth is bound in heaven. The scripture tell you that. All right? Matter of fact, get that scripture. No, read verse 7. Read verse 7, because like I said, there was a war in heaven. Go ahead.
And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels.
All right, now, when Yasharahla was born, there was a war in heaven. Michael and the angels fighting in the heavens. At the same time, that same vibration was on earth with Herod. Okay? With Herod. That's what scripture says. Whatever's bound in heaven on earth should be bound in heaven. All right? Matter of fact, let's go to that scripture. I think that's what, Matthew 18? Yeah, Matthew 18. Matthew 18, really quick. Y'all all right? Okay. So Joseph and Mary and Yasharahla was in Egypt for 3.5 years, waiting until the Most High told them to come back after Herod died. So that was the wilderness that they were in. Okay? All right? Go to Matthew 18:18, I believe.
Uh, 18:18?
Yeah.
Reading out of the book of Matthew, chapter 18, verse 18. Verily I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatsoever ye shall loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven.
All right, so when we read the Revelations, that was the heavenly part. That was going on in the heavens at the same time that Yasharahla was born with Mary and Joseph and Herod. There was a war in heaven at that same time. That same vibration was up there, was happening down here. All right? Now, last scripture. I'm going to show how ruthless the Romans were. Read Matthew 1:16.
Matthew 1:16?
Yes. 2:16.
Oh. Reading out of the book of Matthew, chapter 2, verse 16.
Come on.
Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceeding wroth.
He's very mad. We got to remember, the wise men didn't care nothing about Herod. They didn't care nothing about Herod. All right? They were as angels. You know, they didn't come to see Herod. All right? Go ahead.
And sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem.
Sisters, see that? You see what he did? He was so upset. All right, remember, that's why it says Michael had to fight the devil in heaven. That's the same vibration that was on earth. Michael was fighting for us. Michael's the one that protects us in the heavens. All right? He's that one. He's that warrior. So just imagine what was happening on the vibration up there was happening down here on earth. And he said he was so upset that he sent forth and slew all children. Go ahead.
In Bethlehem and in all the coasts thereof, from 2 years old and under.
Imagine that, sisters. That's how ruthless he was. Not 40, 50-year-old men. These were children. They probably just started walking. If that, 2 and younger. They ravished houses. That's why he said, take his mother and that child, flee to Egypt. Because if they didn't, you know how many houses got ravished? And it's a report, and I think LeBron know how many kids actually got killed. It was thousands of kids that the Romans killed, that Herod killed. Thousands. That's one of the worst atrocities that's ever on earth. When Herod got so upset and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem. All right? Bethlehem and surrounding areas. From 2 years old and younger. The baby can be 2 months old. They killed him. Thousands of kids got killed. All right? So this is the level that they were on. The Romans were rough. Okay? All right, continue on.
According to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men.
All right. That's one of the worst atrocities ever, right there. All right.
Can I read down to 18?
You can, because it was hell.
Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremy the prophet, saying, in Ramah was there a voice heard, lamentation and weeping and great mourning.
All right, sisters, y'all was crying. Brothers, if they took your child out, brothers were crying too. What if you just had a son? The Romans came, Herod and their guards came and ravaged your home. You tried to defend it, but they came and killed your son right in front of you. All right, so great lamentation. All right, go ahead.
Rachel weeping for her children and would not be comforted because they are not.
You couldn't be comforted after that. All right, in the history they show you that they don't really talk about that, but that's one of the worst atrocities in history, what Herod did right there. All right, so always remember that. All right, now, we're going to stop right there because I want to go more into the Romans, but we're going to say that for the next class. I want to go into Yasharahla more, 70 AD, all right, and our last stronghold in the Roman period. So with that being said, I'm going to give you a book of the day.
Finish verse 9.
All right, book of the day. I'm going to bring back the one from last class that I didn't have in front of me. This was called, in the video department, he can bring it up, Black Britannia. All right? This is Black Britannia. He probably can pull it up. What's the price on this book? Anybody can Google it? Black Britannia, written by Edward Scobie. You can look on your phone, you can Google it. History of Blacks in Britain. All right, this shows you how we ruled Europe during the 10th century. All right, Edward Scobie. And actually, he's a Benjamite. All right, from Dominica. All right, so he did a lot of traveling, and he talks about blacks in Britain and the West Indies. How much is this book? Does it say?
It's $1,400.
All right, it's a very expensive book. It's the books they don't want you to have.
Exactly.
Right? It's another one they don't want you to have. All right. Now, I didn't pay for this. I didn't pay that much. No, I didn't pay that much. All right. It's him right here. It's him right here. But this is a part of my, actually, the House of David library is a part of it. And I guarantee you, the more people know about it, they're going to raise up more and more. Yep. That was on Amazon? All right. All right. Now, I'm going to bring another one, but I want everybody should have this. And this was a gift to me, to be honest with you. This was a gift. I want everybody should get an Oxford Orthodox King James Version Bible that has the Apocrypha in it. All right, this one has Apocrypha in it. This was given to me by the brother Rawchaa. So I didn't pay for this. This is an Oxford Authorized King James Version Bible. It has the Apocrypha in it already. That's why it's a little thicker. All right? That way you're going to go See how I'm teaching? I'm teaching with two books, the Apocrypha right here, and then I got the King James Version Bible, but this one has both these books in it. All right, so try to get you one. It's a little more expensive, but try to get you one of these. That way you'll have two books. All right? All right. Before we close up, I just want you to think really quick. And I got this from the brother Osh class last week. Y'all remember the eunuch that was in the New Testament?
Yes.
I think it was Philip. No, it wasn't Philip.
Yes, Philip.
And he was asked, did he know what he was reading? And he said, no, right? Unless someone teaches him.
Mm-hmm.
Why couldn't he understand what he was reading? The book of Jeremiah. Why couldn't he understand it? Think about it. Do we need to read it? Somebody can find where it's at. But just think about it. He couldn't understand the Bible.
Was it keeping the commandments?
No. Let's read it right quick. Where was that at?
Acts 13.
Where was that at, Ash? Really quick, and we're going to close out. And if someone in the chat line, if they got, or virtually, if they're there, if they can answer it, let me know. All right? All right. Let me get that. No, it's not an Acts. Is it?
Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
Acts.
Acts what? All right, 8:37. Thank you.
I could start to
Start from, all right, read it.
or 27 too.
All right. Ben said 29, start from 29. 26? All right, let's read Acts. Acts what?
8:26.
26. All right, let's go to that. Just a little question before we end the class. Once you get clarity on this. All right, go my reader, take that.
Reading out of the book of Acts, chapter 8 and verse 26.
Mm-hmm.
And the angel of the Adawan spake unto Philip, saying, Arise, and go toward the south, unto the way that goeth down from Jerusalem unto Gaza, which is desert. And he arose and went, and behold, a man of Ethiopia, a eunuch of great authority under Candace, queen of the Ethiopians, who had the charge of all her treasure, and had come to Jerusalem for to worship.
All right, so if you don't understand, that was an Israelite. All right, he just lived in Ethiopia. He was coming to Jerusalem to worship. All right, this was an Israelite. Okay, continue.
Was returning, and sitting in his chariot, read Isaiah, the prophet.
He was reading the book of Isaiah. Go ahead.
Then the Spirit said unto Philip, Go near, and join thyself to his chariot. And Philip ran thither to him, and heard him read the prophet Isaiah, and said, Understandest thou what thou readest?
All right, so Philip ran over and said, he heard him reading. You know how you might hear, someone reading the Bible or just, sitting around reading the Bible. And Philip asked him, do you understand what you're reading? All right, go ahead.
And he said, How can I, except some man should guide me? And he desired Philip that he would come up and sit with him.
Now, come on, finish reading.
The place of the scripture which he read was this: He was led as a sheep to the slaughter, and like a lamb dumb before his shearer, so opened he not his mouth.
Go ahead.
In his humiliation, his judgment was taken away. And who shall declare his generation? For his life is taken from the earth.
Go ahead.
And the eunuch answered Philip and said, I pray thee, of whom speaketh the prophet this? Of himself or of some other man?
All right, so now ask yourself, why couldn't he understand that scripture?
Because he didn't know about Christ, the Rawchaa.
Okay, right. But you're exactly right. But hit it right in the nose. Why didn't he know? All he knew. In other words, he was just the Old Testament. Philip was a Messianic. So he was able to understand the scriptures. So when he read that, Philip knew that's Yahawashai. So what I'm saying to you, don't get stuck in the Old Testament. You're going to get stuck. You can't understand anything else. You have to be Messianic. You have to follow Yahawashai to really understand the scriptures. That's the only reason he didn't understand it. Even though New Testament wasn't written yet, but because Philip experienced and was there in his teachings, he knew when he read that scripture, he knew exactly what that was talking about. So he was just an Old Testament. That's all. All right. So keep that in mind. The scripture said, "I'm in the volume of this book." All right. And read the entire book. All right, sisters, brothers.
Khan.
All right. So with that, listen. This be it. I say Shabbat Shalom. And pray the Most High give you peace and perfect health, which is a gift from the Most High. All right, Shalom.